Hi, welcome to Mike Herbert's and PlayFavourites.com, and quite an unusual video. I normally make videos to teach people how to play songs, but in this video I'm going to teach you how to change the strings on your guitar. Something that we as guitarists probably should do more often than we do. Certainly the guitar always sounds a lot nicer when it's got some new strings on. What we've got here is all the equipment you'll need, the basic equipment you'll need. This thing here, I played the guitar for years before I figured out what this thing was and how useful it would be. And it's a string winder, and it does several things. We can actually wind the machine heads of the strings, but also we have a little section there that we can use for prizing out the pegs at the other end of the guitar. So a very handy little piece of equipment there. A set of pitch pipes most people will recognise. Clearly we'll need some strings. We have some sets of strings there. Strings come in various gauges, and not everyone seems to know that. I do get asked questions about buying strings. These are extra light, which I can use on my very lightweight acoustic guitar here. We can also use on electric guitar. And when I first started to play, I used to use these medium strings. They give a much better sound if you're just strumming. But for picking and instrumentals, the extra light strings I prefer. And also either a pair of snips or a pair of pliers, so that we can take off those nasty, dangerous ends of the strings. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of the old strings, and that's where this little baby comes in handy. Because if we look at the business end of the guitar, we have a set of string pegs, and these can be quite awkward to remove, and I've seen people damage guitars quite badly trying to prise these things out. Well, in fact we have a handy little peg prizer here. That little nick there just fits neatly under the shoulder of the peg and allows us to very easily just prise it out. What we of course must do is make sure that we've taken the tension off the string before we do that. Otherwise we'll have pegs and strings and eyes being removed. So use the string winder to remove the pegs there. If we move back to this end of the guitar here, the idea when we replace a string is to fasten it at the peg end and then get some string through the machine head and then put the tension onto it. Now I'm going to start by putting in the 6th string, the thickest string, from my set first, so that's the top string on the guitar on a normal right hand strung guitar. So when I look at my strings, I should be able to by eye gauge them fairly easily, which is the thickest and all the way down to the thinnest gauge. So here's my string, and we see the end here has an eyelet, and the string's looped around it and then twisted along the string. Now one of the things we need to do is to make sure that we get this seated properly here, and the trick to that is just to put a tiny kink. We can just see there the tiniest little kink in our string, so that when we poke it down the hole it actually moves forward this way. And the reason for doing that is so that when we pull it back it will slide into the groove of the string there along this part of the peg. So our little kink forwards, perhaps get away with a bit more there. So a little kink forwards, put the peg in, make sure that that eyelet pulls past along the groove there in the side of the peg. Give it a tug and that should be nice and firm, and then we can go to the other end of the guitar. So having fastened our string at the bridge of the guitar with the peg, we then bring it along the neck of the guitar over the little groove there on the 6th string, and then we pass the string through our machine head. Now the best way to set your machine heads up is to have the hole running laterally across the guitar. I'll show you why. Put the string into its slot, push the string through the hole of the machine head, and we bring it through, drop it into its slot, and the amount of string that we would want to see is enough to make a loop about that size. Okay, so running across the guitar, a loop of about this size, that's more than enough string. What we then do is we bend the string in the machine head around back on itself, all the way back around the post, and bring it out underneath the string. Hope you can see that clearly. And then bring it up on itself. And that makes a nice anchor for the string. Okay? So we have our loop through the machine head, back round in the opposite direction to how the string's going to wrap, back under the string and bring it over and pull it up. Now what we can do is get our string winder here. When I first used one of these string winders, I naturally thought that you would put it this way, but in fact there's a groove that runs across, which makes it a nice snug fit on there. And what we do is we start to wind the string. So make sure that that doesn't actually pop back up over the string and just wind away. And we end up with a couple of turns actually on the machine head post itself. I can feel the string just starting to tension now, and there we can hear it just starting to tension. I have a couple of turns around the machine head there, as you can see. And we'll just give it a bit more tension. And for now, that's enough. Now what do we do with this spare end? In the old days, guitarists used to wind them around and put them in a loop like this, which if you're in a hurry or you have no equipment is fine, that's okay. At least it stops the things poking your eyes out. But they do tend to rattle and vibrate. These days all I do is snip them off, leave about ½ an inch showing, and then bend that out of the way down there so that it doesn't poke your hands. And there we have our first string. And what we do is just repeat that exercise for all of the strings, obviously making sure that we get the right strings. One last thing, we just really need to come to this end of the guitar again and just make sure that that's in place by just giving it a bit of a push down and pull on the string. That's not going to move, I can assure you. So this end's anchored, the other end's anchored. We should be able to tune our guitar up nicely. So there we are, we have all 6 strings on, nice and neat, just a little end there of each string sticking out. And you'll see on each machine head post there, we just have a couple of turns of string on each one, and the string nicely nipped, the end of the string nipped underneath the top turn of each one. And I guarantee if you put your strings on that way, your guitar will very rarely go out of tune. You can play all day, all night, and it will stay in tune for days on end, no problem at all. And at the other end, all we've done is made sure that the pegs are all in place, that the strings are obviously lined up, and none of the pegs have lifted at all, so that we know that the string's pulled in really firmly into that wedge system there on the string. So all that remains now is to tune the guitar, and tuning really is just something that comes with practice. Now I don't often use pitch pipes nowadays. The easier way is to use an electronic tuner because it tells you exactly when the thing's in tune. But let's just quickly tune up using these pitch pipes. It's a while since I've done this, but we'll see. So I'm going to play the notes and then bring in the top string. And I start with the thickest string because that's the one that's going to put the most tension on the guitar. Now once I've gone down the strings, what we'll find is as we add tension with each string, we actually will lose the tension that we had on the first string. So we need on the 6th string, sorry. So we need to adjust the guitar 2 or 3 times in that first 5 minutes or so. Give it a couple of hard strums, and then it will settle down. So let's have a go at the E string first of all. Sounds like it's in tune to me. And then to the A string. It's not exact, but I'm not too concerned at this stage. We'll go down all the strings and come back. So the D string. That's the D, pretty close anyway. Then the G. And the B. And then the high E, first string. Now as I said, just remove that bit of spittle from the end of my guitar. As I said, now that we've tensioned these strings, we will have lost tension in our 6th string, and we'll find that it's flat. So we'll try it again. Quite a bit flat by the sound of it. So bring it back, same with the next string. And then what we'd do, of course, is pick up the guitar and tune in the normal method. So there we go, that's how you restring a guitar. If you do it that way, you'll find it stays in tune really well. And it really does inspire us to play more, doesn't it? Because they always sound better when they're restrung.